Boom, shakalaka boom. You're tuned in to the free range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I am, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios here at the Cotton Exchange Plaza out in Florida, Mississippi for a FAFO Friday. But it's a special FAFO Friday. It's also the FAFO Friday. It's a day of remembrance. It's V-Day, when the bad guys in World War II, the Nazis, when they effed around and found out that America and its allies don't play. If you F around with us, you in fact found out. And that's exactly what happened on this day in history, 1944. We're going to talk about that in the rest of this opening segment. But first, the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, I'm sure you guys have got a lot you want to get off your chest this morning, is 601-879-0002. I'm not taking any calls right now. I see somebody already trying. You're going to have to hold it. We'll get back to you in a minute. We're going to talk about Elon and Trump battling it out here in the first hour. Coming up in hour two, we got Mike Watkins, my good friend and yours, medical marijuana connoisseur, professional medical marijuana spokesperson. Mike's going to come in. We're going to get a big update on the medical marijuana industry, what's going on with all that in Mississippi. I've actually met a few people here recently who recently got their cards, their medical cards, and they also have guns. So it's starting to spread. Yeah, more people are getting them. We're going to talk to Mike, see what's going on in the industry. He's down at the Capitol doing some stuff this week, so see what changes they're attempting to get made to the bill. It's going to be ever-changing, and we appreciate the legislature for getting it done. Unfortunately, we lost our ability to have ballot initiatives over this, but, well, as life goes. All right. Again, this is the Clay Edwards Show. I am, of course, Clay Edwards. That Mazda of Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit. We'll open up the phone lines. When I got off yesterday, I went home and I was exhausted. I went and did my red light therapy and my cryotherapy. Did it 4 days in a row this week. And, I wasn't aware that could absolutely cause sheer exhaustion. But after I got home yesterday, about 12:30, 12:45, I laid on the couch, and with the exception of getting up from the couch to get into bed, I didn't wake back up till 6 o'clock. Ate something, watched a little TV, and was back asleep by 10. Got up at 4:30 this morning. Could have stayed in bed another 2 or 3 hours. I'm pretty sure of it. So I missed all of the Elon and Trump drama. I mean, I had a live stream on in the background, so I was kind of listening. I was aware of what was going on, but I wasn't present by any means. And frankly, I still haven't had a whole lot of time to look at all of it, because last night when I woke up, I can't exactly just start working. I have family time and obligations and whatnot with the people I live with, my girlfriend and more. So, I can't sit there and just play on my phone and do show prep the entire night. So I got up this morning and kind of peeled the onion back a little bit. What a crap show. What an absolute crap show. A lot of different opinions on it. How we got here. Is it 4D chess? It ain't 4D chess. Yeah. Stop. It's not Trump and Elon playing some game to try to get the Democrats to, now we must release the Epstein files. Oh, if Trump's on it, we got to do it. If Trump was really in the Epstein files, they would have already found a way to release them. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. If Trump was truly in the Epstein files, the Democrats, sometime in the last 8 years, would have found a way to get him out there. And before y'all say, oh no, but they were on there too, so it was self-preservation, they would have found a way. Stop it. We're talking about the people that created the PP hoax, the Russia hoax, and every other hoax. They would have found a way. I mean, honestly, what I'm really surprised is they didn't just find a way to put him on the list and him not be. Just like they did the Russia dossier. They can make that up. Why couldn't they have just fabricated him being on the list? As far as I know, it's still the only sexual, child sex, human sex trafficking bust where we don't know who any of the people who did the bad stuff are. Who were the perps? All we know is Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. It ain't Trump they're protecting. But we're going to get to that and more. I put something together this morning. I was in there writing this, and I made a video, put it on. I want to do it on the show. I want to read this on the show this morning because I think it's really relevant. And this is about D-Day. And I think it's very prevalent today, June 6, 2025, as much so as it was on June 6, 1944. America, it's June 6, 2025, and we're marking 81 years since D-Day, when the greatest generation hit Normandy's beaches to smash Nazi tyranny and save the free world. Let's go back to 1944, Omaha, Utah, Juneau, where the heroes from every walk of life faced hell together. Picture this, if you will. Black and white troops from Mississippi, men who back home might have been on opposite sides of the civil rights struggle, standing shoulder to shoulder in the surf, dodging bullets, dragging each other to cover. Out there, it didn't matter. In my rock voice, it doesn't matter if you were a Delta sharecropper son or a plantation heir. It didn't matter what church you knelt in, who you loved, or what grudges you carried stateside. All that mattered was the guy next to you was ready to fight and maybe die for the only flag that counted then and the only flag that counts today, the one that's over my shoulders, both shoulders, because I got two in the studio, the red, the white, the blue, the American flag. Those Mississippi boys, black and white, they weren't arguing segregation or voting rights when the shells rained down. They were one team, bleeding the same red blood for the stars and stripes. That flag wasn't just a symbol. It was their promise to each other, to their country, to freedom itself. Catholic, Baptist, Protestant, Jew, atheist, no one cared. Skin color, background, sexual preference, none of it meant a damn thing when the mission was to keep Old Glory flying over a world worth saving. Today, with division creeping into every corner of our lives, let's take a lesson from those D-Day warriors. They showed us what unity looks like. Men from opposite sides of the world, like those Mississippi troops, fighting as one for the flag that binds us. The American flag stood for something bigger then, and it still does now. Let's honor their sacrifice by standing together, no matter our differences, under the red, white, and blue. It's the only flag that mattered in 1944, and it's the only one that matters today. Stay proud, stay united, stay true to the red, the white, the blue. I like that. I got to thinking about that this morning on the way in, how to articulate that. And I was really thinking more along the lines of all these people flying these flags from different countries around here, flying that damn rainbow flag. You want to talk about fatigue. Yes, I do have black fatigue or ghetto fatigue or whatever we decided to call it to not offend a certain group of people. You know what other fatigue I have, probably more so than any of it? That damn rainbow fatigue. Oh, I got rainbow fatigue. Sure do. And shout out to the Supreme Court yesterday for the ruling that basically says that reverse discrimination is, the same thing as discrimination. You can't discriminate against somebody because they're not gay or because they're not a minority. So y'all told me this stuff wasn't happening. Clay, that don't happen. That don't happen, Clay. Well, the Supreme Court obviously thought it was happening. Just like y'all tell me reverse racism ain't happening. Actually, you're right about that. Reverse racism is not happening because just like discrimination, there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's just discrimination and there's just racism. And it can, in fact, happen. There's a certain level of really dumb minority around here that like to get into this argument of, am I a racist or am I a bigot? Oh, you can't be a racist because you don't own nothing. You can't stop me from doing anything. Oh, so I'm a bigot? I mean, make your mind up. I thought everything was racist. I was almost offended at that point that I wasn't a racist. What do you mean I don't control anything? I control everything. Anyway, I swear I don't want a war. It's the last thing I want. I am anti-war like a 1960s hippie. But sometimes in my mind, I think we need a great reset like that comes from the kind of reset that comes from a lot of lives being lost, a struggle that forces us to come together. Sean and I talked about this a lot. If 9/11 happened in 2025, if 9/11 happened on September 11th, 2025, there would be no George Bush standing on the rubble or shouting, the people that brought these buildings down are going to hear all of us soon. And America erupting in cheers, regardless of what side of it you were on, Democrat, Republican, black, white, Muslim. That moment couldn't happen now. We'd all run to the internet. Who did the pilots vote for? Who did they support in the last election? Doing forensic audits of all their social media posts, trying to figure out if they were pro-Trump, pro-Biden, Hillary, Obama, anything. So we could point the finger at one another. That's all we would do today. It would just tear a country further apart, even if it was done by an enemy, not from here. Because we would find a way to attach that enemy to our enemy, each other. So I don't know that there's any event that could pull the country together, except maybe a world war, where we were forced to fight for our existence. And I think that may be coming sooner than we think, but maybe not in the traditional World War sense. It could be us versus them damn robots and computers. I honestly, I truly didn't know that Terminator was going to be a warning, not fiction. Kind of like 1984 ended up being a documentary, not a fictional movie. All right, let's take our first break. We'll open the phone lines up when we come back. Let's talk about Elon, talk about Trump. I kind of said all I wanted to say, but we can run it back and take a deeper dive into it. I would like to get you all's input on it. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. We are broadcasting live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios. With a war coming, men, you're going to need your testosterone levels ready to go, as high as they can be. You need to text my name, text Clay, to 601-327-8550. If you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, that's your sex drive, brain fog, sleep disturbances, or lack of the morning wood, you, my friends, could be suffering from low testosterone. Get Scott McCullough or Michael Walker to help you out today at Men's Health of Mississippi, located on Fountains Boulevard right there in Madison. One last time, text Clay, 601-327-8550. Don't forget, we'll be broadcasting live out there this upcoming Tuesday, doing a on-site testosterone screening drive. How many of y'all want to come out, meet me, meet the crew, and get your testosterone checked for free? We'll be out there Tuesday. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, this segment brought to you by our friends over there at Tri-County Tree Service. Russell Borland and his team can get you taken care of today. Reach out to him for all of your tree trimming and removal service needs. Located right here in central Mississippi, Russell Borland is the man. You can contact him at 601-940-5499. 601-940-5499. That's Tri-County Tree Service. Russell Borland. Great dude here, man. Great supporter of WYAB. We hope you guys will support him when you have the needs of tree services. When you need tree services handled, think Tri-County Tree Service. All right. Let's read some text. Oh, actually, let's go to the Mazda Jackson phone line. We got a call. Hey, you're on the phone? You're on there?
Good morning, Clay. How are you?
Hey, Sylvia. How you doing?
I'm fine. I wanted to say congratulations on your 1,000th episode.
Oh, we're a week away. Yeah. That'll be next Friday, but thank you.
Oh, what? I thought you said today's not the 13th. I forgot. Woo!
Hey, we'll take it either way. Thank you. We're five. After today, we'll be 5 episodes away. So next Friday, 1,000.
5 episodes away. I'm so sorry because I wanted to be your first call on that day because I was your first call when you started. I'll call again and take.
Oh, good. Well, you're a week early. It still counts.
Okay, well, I'm going to still call next Friday. But anyway, I did want to say something in accordance to what you opened up with. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of people just standing around filming things because we wouldn't have all that stuff on Facebook and other places if folks didn't just stand around and film stuff instead of calling the authorities to help stop the problem that's going on so it doesn't get worse. But anyway, that's one of the things that I have fatigue about. I also have that rainbow fatigue and that end fatigue as well. But I wanted to say to the men and women who are still alive that served today in 1944, thank you very much because we still have folks, a lot of them are in their 80s and a little older than that as well, but they're still here. And I wanted to say thank you for those who are in the audience that can hear your show. And the other thing I wanted to say was that President Trump, and Elon, they're men. They're going to get past this. They're not catty like women. Women are catty and they just hold on to grudges or whatever. They're just men being men, and they're powerful in their positions that they're in, and they're having a miss, and they'll be fine. They'll be good buddies again in no time. I don't know what happened with Elon, but it's more like a father-son spat since he is so much younger than President Trump. It'll be all right. Next thing we'll hear about is that they're boozing buddies again. And that's all I wanted to say. Rats! I didn't mean to be a week early. I really woke up and thought today was the 13th. Oh, I'm getting old. Anyway, you have a good day, and still, congratulations, 5 days early.
Hey, I'll take it. Thank you so much, Miss Sylvia.
Bye.
Have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye. Love Miss Sylvia. Week early on the 1,000, but yeah, next Friday, it's the 1,000th episode of the Clay Edwards Show. FAFO 1K. Hoo-wee. I tell you what, I wanted to take the day off, I'll be honest. I was just exhausted still from the lack of sleep and doing all that stuff I've been doing, but whatever. Sleep when I'm dead, man. Sleep when I'm dead. Wasn't going to miss today anyway. Ain't no way I was going to miss today. V-Day, D-Day, D-Day, V-Day, Valentine's Day, D-Day, and the Trump Elon stuff. So let's read a couple texts. We're going to save the Trump Elon stuff to the next segment. Tim texts in on the Guns and Gear text line, says, first off, thank God we had men like that in the 40s, or we wouldn't have a country today. Don't know how many of those could be found today. Oh, it's slim pickings. They're all doing podcasts. Elon and Trump, as far as Elon and Trump, was inevitable. 2 billionaire alphas, one of the richest men in the world, and one of the most powerful men in the world, a pissing match was going to happen. He did some good. Thanks so much, but bye, Felicia. And then as far as my AI comment goes, he goes, a Terminator in his AI is going to come right from the Amazon facility in Canton on Highway 22. Yeah. Yeah, the Trump Elon stuff, like I say, I'm going to save my opinions for the next segment. But I tend to agree with Tim there. Thanks, but bye. Appreciate everything. But clearly Elon's got some mental health issues. Bipolar. We know he's on the spectrum, which causes him to get hyper-focused on things. And he's just hyper-focused on this and this budget cutting. And it's just, if you don't do exactly what he says, he loses it. All signs of, of somebody on the spectrum. And that's fine. That's fine. Be on the spectrum. The pros way outweigh the cons, but when the cons happen, this is what you see. He acts like a petulant child not getting his way. Dagwood says, ask the blacks how, I'm sorry, wrong text. That was the old text. He said there were no blacks on the initial landing of D-Day. They came later and were not combat troops. So I had to double check, and I'm not saying he's wrong, but at least according to the internet, he's wrong. It said, yes, black soldiers were present on D-Day and played a vital role in the invasion of Normandy. While the U.S. military was still segregated, approximately 2,000 African-American soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. Let's see here. There was something I had seen specifically. Combat unit. The 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion was the only all-black combat unit to land on D-Day, tasked with setting up balloons to deter German aircraft. So they were there, maybe in more so support roles than Operation Human Shield type roles, but at least according to the internet, they were there. Now, Dagwood says this, and I don't doubt this, because they have in fact been rewriting history a lot. They've been blackwashing history. He says, because I told him what I just found on Google. It says, could be a rewrite of history. It's been happening in recent years. There was practically no German Air Force left in Europe when the Tuskegee Airmen got there. So, yeah, there's definitely been a blackwashing of history and inserting African Americans into roles that they did not necessarily participate in. I don't know. I don't know how we can insert people into roles they didn't participate in, and at the same time say that they weren't involved and that they were done wrong for not being involved. It's kind of like talking out of both sides of your mouth, as the media likes to do, or as these historians like to do. But they're definitely doing that. It's kind of sad. I mean, yes, America did black folks dirty. But I will say this. While your ancestors paid a premium to be in America, where they may not have wanted to be, y'all way better off being here. It wasn't a joyride for my ancestors either that came over here on the Mayflower, which we did track the Edwards heritage all the way back to the Mayflower. That's right. I'm an OG patriot. Got the bloodline to prove it. It wasn't no joyride for us either. The majority of us died on the trip over here. Then we had to go through winters fighting Indians and all kind of crazy crap. Had to build houses and cities and develop things, invent things. Wasn't no joyride either. Sure, maybe we weren't slaves, but we were slaves. Slaves to the grind. It wasn't easy for any of the founders, any of the people that built America. But you know what? We're all better off for it. I mean, look over at Africa now. You really want to be there? You really want to be in Africa now? They are still living in mud huts while y'all screaming y'all invented everything. You sure you want to be a part of that? Over in South Africa? All the crap that's going on there? But really, you want to be a part of that? No, you don't. Whether you want to admit it or not, blacks are in a much better situation in America than they would be anywhere else, particularly the motherland. So I have a hard time feeling too much pity for this whole conversation. Because again, while you might not have been treated well, and nobody alive has really dealt with it, let's just be honest. I mean, especially Gen X and younger, any racism that y'all have dealt with has been self-inflicted at most. Because again, I always go back to it, the 90s, the 80s, late 80s, all the 90s, and the mid-2000s, race relations were as good as they've ever been in this country or any other in history. But y'all found a way to want to become victims and pretend that you had been racism against. It's like you were just disappointed that you weren't living in the civil rights era, so you tried to create one. I just can't take you serious. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about Elon and Trump. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. This segment brought to you by our friends over at erupted. Guys, it's the weekend. If you have any pet emergencies, we pray that you don't. But if you do, think erupted, like my friend Miss True Crime Mama from TikTok did last weekend. Hey, look, pet emergencies don't wait, and neither should you. erupted Emergency Vets of Madison offer low wait times, cutting-edge technology, and provide fast, expert care for all household pets. Located at 15 Olympic Way, the hours of operation are weeknights 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. and 24 hours on weekends and holidays. Give them a call, 601-790-1918, 601-790-1918, or just Google it, erupted, URGIVET, Madison. Because when it comes to your pet's health, trust the team that's fast, reliable, and compassionate. Again, they're located at 15 Olympic Way in Madison. Their hours of operation are weeknights, 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. and 24 hours on weekends and holidays. Hopefully you don't need them, but if you do, they're there to serve you. Got a real quick before we jump into the Trump Elon stuff. My buddy Roger just texted in. And we got a little we are in need of blood. We have an emergency. We need blood donations for a friend that is in dire need. So if you have the ability to donate blood, listen up. I'm going to read this whole text here because I think context matters. He says, "Look, man, I never ask people to use our platforms for things, but this is very important and urgent. You may have seen my post about my good friend's son that was in a bad motorcycle wreck. They live right around the corner in Florida. They are in desperate need of blood. He lost 6 units of blood the other night. Can you please mention something about this? His name is Grayson Foster. He's a track superstar at Mississippi College, and sadly he had to have his leg amputated because of this bad wreck. His Mississippi Blood Service code is EQ32. Again, let me say that again. His Mississippi Blood Service code is EQ, Edward Quintanamo. I don't know what is something that starts with Q. Letter Q, EQ32. EQ32 is his blood service, Mississippi Blood Service code. If they go and give blood, please give that code and it will give him credit for it. Does not matter blood type. Guys, if you can give blood, I highly encourage you to swing by Mississippi Blood Services today. Donate blood, and the code is EQ32. You can text me, reach out to me if you can't remember that, but write it down, please. EQ32, Grayson Foster, track superstar at Mississippi College, has been in a bad motorcycle wreck, had to have a leg amputated, and is in dire need of blood. Does not matter the blood type. So please get out there and let's lend a helping hand. All right. There's no way to pivot from that other than just do it. So let's do that. Trump and Elon yesterday. Elon lost his mind. But it does appear that he woke up this morning after his Molotov cocktail of ketamine and Adderall and whatever else he's on, allegedly, of course, wore off. Bill Ackman posted, I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. Elon replied and says, you're not wrong. You know, unfortunately for Elon, he took the nuclear option yesterday and accused Donald Trump of being a pedophile. You don't get to do that. There's no coming back from that. You don't get to do that. You know, you can call me a lot of things and I can forgive you. That's not going to be one of them. Trump should absolutely not forgive Elon. But that doesn't mean you can't bury the hatchet for the greater good and work together. But Elon is definitely out. He has put himself outside the circle of trust when you say stuff like that. Now, let's go back a little bit here to what I said in the very first segment of the show, and I kind of got to addressing this a little bit anyway. Like, I haven't got to hear many people's thoughts and opinions on it, so you're getting just my thoughts and opinions on this, and that they haven't been adulterated by anybody else. I haven't been influenced by anybody else's thoughts and opinions because I just haven't had a chance to listen to anybody on this. But my initial thoughts are this. You're going to have a bunch of people that say, oh, they're playing 4D chess. Look, Trump didn't agree to be accused of being on Epstein Island as part of this 4D chess. You don't do that. You're the president of the United States. You don't agree to have one of the most famous men and the most richest man and the smartest man in the world accuse you of being on Epstein Island. You don't sign up for that. So anybody that thinks that this is some 4D chess move, put the meth pipe down this morning. Put the QAnon meth down. This ain't QAnon, this ain't Blue Anon. Well, there may be Blue Anon, but it ain't QAnon. Just stop. That ain't what's going on here. Elon effed up. Elon got in his feelings over the big, beautiful bill. And there's some other stuff leaking too that may have something to do with it. And thank you to Brad for sending me this. Steve Bannon told the Daily Mail that Musk's turbulent time in the White House was marred when he physically shoved 62-year-old Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent after he was confronted over wild promises to save the administration $1 trillion. Scott Bessent called him out and said, quote, you promised us $1 trillion in cuts, and now you're at like $100 billion, and nobody can nobody can find anything. What are you doing? The prominent MAGA figure revealed, and that's when Elon got physical. It's a sore subject with him. It wasn't an argument. It was a physical confrontation. Elon basically shoved him. And then Elon went to X yesterday and posted, I don't know, hundreds of texts. The memes and jokes have been crazy. But my opinion is this. Elon's got too much to lose. The Democrats now don't like him. Now MAGA don't like him. But MAGA is more forgivable than the Democrats. I think they will find a happy medium here somewhere in all this. Look, there's a part of me that thought this was going to be inevitable. And, of course, Elon also came out and said that Trump wouldn't have gotten elected without him. Look, I don't know. It didn't hurt. It definitely didn't hurt. Elon did a whole lot to help. Now, did Elon supporting Trump directly and spending money, did that help? I don't know. I think Trump getting shot sealed the deal. And the work that Charlie Kirk and that crew did, and what's the other guy's name that helped flip Pennsylvania? I think all the work they did played a huge role in this. But I would be foolish if I suggested that Elon didn't help some. But I think Elon buying Twitter is what helped win Donald Trump the election, not necessarily his support. But again, it didn't hurt. And here's the other thing too. If Elon really thought that Trump was a pedo? Why did he let his little young son X or Z or whatever his name is, Pi, spend so much time around Trump by himself? There's lots of pictures and videos of Elon's kid following Trump around with Elon nowhere in sight. So you think that Trump's a pedo, but it's okay to leave him around your kid? Come on, man. But I'll say this, I do think, whether it was, again, I don't believe the 4D chess crap. I like a good conspiracy theory, but they got to be based in reality, and that's not based in reality. That's like people who believe that we didn't go to the moon, just nut jobs. But it does, in my opinion, force the Trump administration to release the Epstein documents now. Okay. And I don't want to hear anything from the media or the left about this. Y'all haven't wanted the Epstein documents released. Y'all have had no interest in the Epstein documents being released on any level as far as your mainstream left-wing media outlets go. Nobody's wanted the Epstein documents released except people on the internet and a couple of people at Fox News. So y'all just sit over in your corner and continue to mind your own business. Y'all are the reason that hotels have chairs in the corner. Cucks. Anyway. So what I hope comes out of this is we get all the Epstein documents released. The list. Release the list. I don't care if Epstein killed himself or not. Speaking of that, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, it's time to put up or shut up. They need to quit talking. Stop. Stop talking. Pam Bondi, too. Stop talking to the media. You make yourselves look like idiots, which in turn make people who have supported y'all look like idiots. I'll call my side out. If Trump is on that Epstein list, lock his ass up. But lock everybody else up on it too. That's my thoughts on that. Let's take our last break of the first hour here. Top of hour 2, in studio, Mike Watkins. We're chopping it up about the medical marijuana industry here on a Friday on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back in as we land the plane for hour 1. We're going to shift gears completely coming up in hour 2 as my buddy Mike Watkins joins me here in the studio, and we catch up on what's going on in the medical marijuana industry here in Mississippi. Should be an interesting conversation. Mike's a vet. He was a big proponent in getting medical marijuana here in Mississippi. So we're going to see what's going on there and more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Boom goes the dynamite. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the RADIO. It is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live on 103.9 FM, WYAB, streaming worldwide at WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa for the audio-only versions. And, of course, if you want to watch us in stunning HD, you can do that at SaveJXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble at SaveJXN. This segment brought to you by our friend, man, we hadn't talked about our friends Mazda of Jackson. Get over there this weekend and test drive the all-new CX-90 right there at Mazda of Jackson. Tell them Clay sent you. Ask for my boy, complete brain fart, as I was going to tell you to ask for my boy. Anyway, it don't matter who you ask for. Go over there, see him at Mazda of Jackson today. Shop them online, MazdaofJackson.com, located at 55 and Briarwood Drive. And don't forget, every Mazda comes with a complimentary limited lifetime powertrain warranty. It ain't no bogus stuff either. It's the real deal. Like I say, you got a few little things you got to do, like keep your oil change there, some other stuff like that. At least I assume that's still part of it. It used to be. If the dealership's going to pay for it, they kind of want you to get your oil change there and kind of keep you as a service customer. It's kind of part of the whole deal. But that ain't a whole lot to ask to be able to get a new motor at 300,000 miles if it goes out. So small price to pay for a big reward later down the road. So check them out, MazdaofJackson.com. Don't forget, Mazda of Jackson is able to offer much lower rates than going through your personal bank. Why pay 8% or so for prime rates going through your personal bank when you can go through Mazda's bank and get them for 0%, 0.8%, 0.9%, 1.9%, whatever the APR special of the month they have going is, which I'm not 100% sure, but they've always got some great ones. And don't forget, leasing is a reward for having good credit nowadays. Leasing is not a scam. Leasing is absolutely a reward for good credit customers. If you got good credit, say, 750 and above, somewhere in that neighborhood, highly, highly recommend leasing. Don't worry about the amount of miles you're going to put on the vehicle. That's a moot point. Don't worry about that, because either in 3 years you're going to trade in and get a new one, and if you trade in and do another Mazda, you're not going to be punished for the mileage, and that goes for about any brand. The only time you can be punished for the miles is if you're just turning it in, you went over, and you're not going to release one. But if you buy it out of the lease, if you buy yourself out of the lease by buying the vehicle, or you lease another one, you're not going to be punished for the mileage. So keep that in mind, and definitely take the leasing option serious if you have good credit. Also, if you're a business owner, you can write off 100% of a lease versus a purchase. So keep that in mind, MazdaofJackson.com. All right, this strapping, well-jacked up individual sitting across from me who's recently started his TRT journey, my old friend, I damn near didn't recognize him. If it wasn't for looking more and more like Kevin Owens, the WWE wrestler, every time I see him, I dang near didn't recognize him. We got my good buddy Mike Watkins. He's been on the show half dozen times or so, been friends for years. He's down from up in, you live in what, Oxford, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rankin County native, but I live in Oxford these days.
Y'all ready for some of these butt whoopings y'all going to be getting on the baseball diamond from our new coach, O'Callahan? O'Connor, whatever his name is.
Look, we always say we want the best Mississippi State team we can get. We
Same.
don't want any excuses.
We want the best Mississippi State team we can get.
Yeah, y'all gave it heck in the regionals. We did too. We tried to come back. It's kind of like the SEC championship. We plugged away to get into it and just couldn't pull it away against Vanderbilt.
Man, I've been saying this for a while. I used to be such an anti-Ole Miss guy. I was just so ate up with Mississippi State, but I was living vicariously through sports because it was the only thing I found joy in life for a few years.
Right.
So it's just like I wasn't happy at home. I wasn't happy at work. So I could just all of my positive energy went into being a sports fan, a state fan in particular. And COVID happened, and it just completely cleansed my palate of that. And it was like I couldn't hate Ole Miss today if you paid me to. Like I pull for them except when they're playing state.
I've got some friends who
I used to laugh when people told me that, by the way. I'm like, you're lying. You're just saying that because it sounds politically correct. And I'm at that point in my life, and I have been for the last 5 years. I don't care.
Well, my family's from Jones County, so it's Southern Miss, Ole Miss State. And as long as they're not playing each other, I can root for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't choose sides until we're actually – but it's like a family, like being in the military, like we were talking about today, I might give a Navy guy, some heck, or a Air Force guy, Chair Force, we give them heck for it being so easy in the Air Force compared to the Army or the Marines. We might give them a little, garbage here or there, but let somebody else say something.
Sure.
We'll go back to back and go to blows.
Well, that's how I feel about Mississippians, and as much, as much gripe, as much heck as I give my black brothers and sisters here, because I expect more out of them than what I think they expect out of themselves in cities like Jackson. You let somebody from somewhere else come down here and say those same things.
Accountability, man. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I hold my own people, people from where I'm from, people I love, hold them accountable. So
yeah, like you're representing my city, Jackson.
Right.
And and I feel like you've done a bad job of representing it, and I'm going to hold you accountable.
Well, talking about positive and it being a Friday, and kind of getting off on a good foot. What do you think about the new mayor? I think there's a lot of good there to look forward to, and I think there's a. Hopefully not the same kind of old stuff, but I think there's a new way of looking at things.
Look, I'm just going to be positive.
There you go. You got to.
I'm going to give. I have
a chance.
I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give him about a year. I will critique his hires.
Yeah.
And I do want to see him keep the police chief, who I've been hard on here the last few months, been calling him a do-nothing.
You got to give him some time, too, that new administration.
But I want to see if they take the handcuffs off of him and really let him do some policing.
Absolutely.
Can he, or was he just all talk? I'm ready to see some action. And, again, I say that because I want to push and nudge and motivate people. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when people prove me wrong. Absolutely. That's some of the best.
Well, I prove them wrong, so to say.
Depending on what it is, for sure.
Awesome. Before we jump into, I want to ask you about testosterone. I want to ask you about some other things. Of course, the medical marijuana stuff. It is D-Day.
Absolutely.
D-Day. And I know you heard my segment talking about how it's a time that actually kind of brought us all together, and we were able to. And when I say we, I mean the country.
Right.
Me and you weren't alive yet, but it was the greatest generation by far, and they earned the title. And until otherwise, they were the greatest generation, and they were able to put racial differences aside. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. They were able to put sexual preferences aside, religious preferences aside, all this stuff for one common goal, and that was to survive. I don't know if they were storming the beaches of Normandy there, if they were thinking, I'm fighting for what's back home. I don't know that that's what they were doing. They didn't ask to be there. Most of them got drafted, not recruited, I assume, and were forced to be there, almost like, slaves, so to say. I hate to put it like that, but I'm just, I'm trying to put my head in their space.
I know there was some of that. I don't think the draft was as much of a thing. I know, back then, people actually killed themselves when they couldn't go to World War II.
True.
They failed their physical, or they couldn't for XYZ go over, and there were stories about people committing suicide because they weren't able to go fight in World War II.
I need to peel that onion back a little bit.
Yeah, at least that's
they had that pride. They had that pride. They felt like they were less than if they couldn't go.
They weren't a man.
Be a part of it.
They weren't that.
Interesting.
They weren't whatever. They couldn't contribute.
Well, I retract my statement a little bit there because I was just kind of thinking, well, still they go into self-preservation mode.
There is that.
As those U-boats are dropping and they're running in, you're not necessarily thinking of, I'm doing this so everybody back home can enjoy a cold beer and free speech.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to get out of here alive.
You might say that leading up to it, but we have a phrase, when the bullets start flying, it gets real and it gets quick. And it gets real quick.
Now, did you experience combat? You are a veteran.
Absolutely.
Did you experience combat?
Yeah, so I joined up a month before 9/11. So, I'm not like a D-Day guy, but I definitely joined up during a time that was.
Sure.
They always talk about 9/11, and it is, it was what it was, but, 9/12, the way America came together.
I don't think we can do that again.
I don't know, man. I think we could. I think, I like to be optimistic. The counterculture these days compared to the 60s tends to be the conservative movement. It was the hippie, this, anti-establishment government, blah, 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 blah. And I think you see that the counterculture today, at least I see in my kids and 16-year-olds and 20-year-olds and that kind of, and younger, it's being conservative, being Christian.
My daughter's been wearing a Trump shirt
X,
for 8
being
years.
Y, being Z, that's more popular these days than the other stuff that we've had pushed down our throat for the last 60 years.
So you don't think...
And I'm a conservative in a very liberal industry, and I love my people. I love my... everybody's diverse as heck, and
you can be liberally conservative.
Absolutely.
I kind of feel like I'm that. Honestly, when it's just Clay looking in the mirror,
libertarian, but there's not a major candidate that's going to actually put a dent in Trump or Biden or whoever's running.
I feel like I have very socially liberal views.
Absolutely,
on a lot of things. People think I don't, because you're not allowed. You're not allowed to live in the gray at all.
Yeah,
in people's eyes.
So there's no nuance in life.
No,
it's a soundbite.
Like I tell people all the time, I'm a Christian and I'm a conservative, but I'm not a Christian conservative.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Because there's a fundamental thing that comes with that,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like I can be both, but they're not the same.
No,
like one doesn't go in front of the other.
No.
For me, like they're separate. Like I separate church and state.
Well, and I try to as well. And one thing I appreciate about you and Sean and a lot of people in this world is that I hold the same energy. You know what I mean? Like if you're good in this area, you're good in this area, Republican, Democrat. If you're bad in this area, you're bad in this area, Republican or Democrat. Like, one of the best things Obama did was he removed funding from federal prosecutors for medical cannabis and cannabis cases in state. So basically, unless you're running, like guns and drugs and RICO cases and, Aryan Brotherhood and, stuff like
Sons
that.
of Anarchy type stuff.
Yeah, unless you're doing
we've been binge watching it. We're up to season 7,
Yeah,
like halfway through season 7, and I've seen it all before. I watched it all in a long time, but my girlfriend had never watched it. And like all of these things are going on there. That show is really ahead of its time.
Well, and that's, you talked about, guns earlier too, and we'll get into that. But, that's the thing. Like, unless you're just really running and doing some nasty stuff and they can use that to get their foot in the door for other charges, there's no funding. The federal prosecutors don't have the funds. So Obama did some great things there. There's some other things that Bush did that I absolutely think is, not beneficial. There's some things I think he did was great.
Let me ask
I hold
you,
the same energy.
If you don't want to answer this, it's fine.
No, go for it.
But if Bush was on the ballot today,
No.
would you vote for him?
Absolutely not.
I mean, like knowing what you know.
Absolutely not.
Me either. No, I wouldn't have voted for the Democrat either.
Who was running against him?
Oh, it was the whole. The first time it was what's his name? The whole recount and all that down in Florida. Hanging chads.
Gore.
Gore.
No,
yeah.
no.
I wouldn't vote for Gore. Who ran against Bush in 12?
I can't remember, man.
Not 12. I mean,
I was overseas.
Who ran in 2004?
I was overseas. I didn't vote for him that time either. I was in Iraq.
In the comments section there, just like save me from Googling, who ran against Bush in 2004 on the re-election? I'm just seeing if anybody can answer that for us real quick. Anyway, in the meantime, Grady Portera is who I was telling y'all to go see at Mazda of Jackson. I wanted to say Brody for some reason. I couldn't. It was like Grady Portera is my buddy at Mazda of Jackson. There's a complete brain fart there. You said you were on TRT. You started like 3 months ago, testosterone replacement. And I'm not using this to plug Men's Health, but y'all already know Men's Health Mississippi. I got on a rant the other day that it is my mission. It's my life's goal. It's my calling to get as many men to get their levels checked. Like what I've experienced since I got on testosterone replacement has been life-changing.
Yeah.
I'm almost 3 years into it. My body composition has completely changed.
You look different.
Thank you, brother. I mean, it's a roller coaster, man. I go through ebbs and flows like anybody else. I'd gotten down to 235. Got back up to 265 a month ago. I'm back down to like 250. So I go through ebbs and flows. You go through breakups and sad times. You get, you go new relationships and being happy and eating out a lot and drinking a little bit more and just having a good time. And boom, and 30 pounds will come back on pretty quick. But I found a really good place the last couple weeks and getting my diet slowly back right. Got back working out, really paying attention to some things, quit the soft drinks again, so on and so forth.
Trying.
But go through ebbs and flows with it. And like most, but physical aside, what it does, what the testosterone does for you mentally.
Ooh, yeah.
You mentioned it before I even had a chance. Tell people. And you're 3 months in, right?
3 months in. I started laughing a second ago because it's funny. The reason I kind of got into it is, as guys, we give each other side hugs. And
John Kerry.
That's
the chin. The chin. The jaw ran against.
I don't know the Kerry.
I wouldn't have voted for Kerry either, but probably just wouldn't have voted.
Yeah. Anyway, so we, as guys, we give each other hugs and pat each other on the shoulder, give each other that side hug. And I noticed, like, my God, everybody's thick as heck. Like what are these guys doing? I feel like I'm soft, like I'm this, I'm that. And so talking to some people about TRT, it's definitely something that they've been doing. And so that's one of the things. And I was always worried, with my PTSD and my brain injury and then, just being, who I am. You always hear about roid rage and X and Y and Z. And so
I think it has the complete opposite effect.
That's what I found. I'm just getting into. So I've had a better mental capacity lately than I haven't before. It's done tremendous for my cognitive behavior. I have a little bit more, kind of goose raba from anger management. I have that. I can think a little bit more clearly and not get so hot so quick. The more stress I take on, the less reactive I've been. So it's been really nice. Low testosterone is one of the biggest issues that veterans have. I believe it's, we worry about CTE with veterans. It's not really been studied too hard yet. One thing we also need to worry about is the pituitary gland. When you get blown up so many times in the shock waves, it can disrupt the endocrine system and a lot of other things. So when that happens, your testosterone takes a dump, your estrogen takes a dump, everything just kind of goes haywire. So when that happens, you need something to help regulate that, and until they find out something that's a little bit more stable, the TRT has been really, really good for veterans.
Yeah, I imagine so. My dad's 76, and he started on it last week, and I hadn't talked to him since the day before he got started. So I'm interested. I told him, I said, look, you're probably going to have a little placebo because it's something new, and you've heard all these great things. You're going to start thinking that you're feeling better, and that's great, placebo or no placebo. I was like, but keep a little journal. And that's what I've started doing, red light therapy and cryotherapy.
I'm going to tell you, my boy Chris Valentine's got a spot over there in Fondren.
He had invited me down via Daniel Anderson. Yeah. And I actually forgot to reply to that text. But
he's great, man.
I've kind of got the hook up, but I'll always come and support somebody else and take a free ride through the venue, or not. I don't mind paying. But I do want to see that down in Fondren, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got that Greenhearts Wellness CBD store in front, and then he's got the it's kind of back there by the not Pasquale's. What is that now? Slotsky's or what's the deli right
whatever.
there? Yeah. But right there in Fondren. Absolutely.
Man, look. So I've been doing the red light therapy, the cryo, but my point in mentioning that is I've started keeping a little journal in my notes here. I took a picture of my face and some skin things, and I think I'm suffering from what is it when you type too much?
Oh, carpal tunnel.
Yeah. For those on camera.
Repetitive.
That ain't it. That ain't it anymore, I can promise. But definitely from typing too much. And my dad just had carpal tunnel surgery. But one of the things the red light therapy is supposed to be able to do is help fix stuff like that through steady use of it. So I'm keeping a pain journal of how much my hand, because I really want to see beyond what it does for skin and cell repair. It's supposed to seriously help like bone and nerve stuff too. So I'm keeping a journal there. But what I implore people do is keep a journal on your testosterone the first 8 weeks or so, because it's going to take about that. Yeah. Keep a sleep journal and some other stuff. And just kind of track it. And see how much better you're doing over about 8 weeks. Once the placebo effect is worn off a little and you're just so excited about it. Because like I said, give it 4 to 8 weeks to really get in your system and your numbers actually come up. Especially if you were like sub 300, it's going to take a minute to get back up around 800, 900, 1,000.
That's where I was. It took about 3 months. I got Ageless Men in Oxford, and they're really awesome up there. Anyway, I was like a 240, 220, something like that. Yeah. And I was, running 2 companies. I got a nonprofit that we started that we're going to talk about here in a minute, DVAC Henderson Foundation. And, just motivated, the lazy stoner doesn't really apply here, kind of thing. But I just super tired. This has tremendously helped me get everything in gear.
So you're just feeling more motivated and driven and focused.
Absolutely.
You know what's cool? We got to take a break. You know what I love about the testosterone is what it does is it creates these dopamine bursts.
Right.
These dopamine rewards. So it's like it's hard to explain this to people as far as me articulating it right. But say you set yourself a little daily goal.
Right.
Like, I'm going to get up and do something hard.
Right. Challenge.
And I'm going to finish it. Like, for me, it's been the cryo.
Right.
Like, that sucks. Getting in sub 200 tank for 3 minutes. That sucks. But the dopamine burst after it, because and the testosterone assisting with the dopamine gives me this mental reward of I just did something that sucked and I did it. Or just any little mental
It's
thing.
Your body's way of tricking your brain. We know it sucks, and so your body's giving you a high reward for that thing that we know is like painful to get there, but the reward of what you just did, pushing your body, your mind to that next limit, that's actually beneficial. So it's a cool little chemistry.
And I'm just using the cryo as an example. It doesn't have to be something physical. It can be literally, I did my homework, I did my show prep, I had a tough conversation with somebody I'd been avoiding, whatever. And it's so funny. It's like, especially like tough conversations. I got a list of people I need to call and kind of bury the hatchet with or do some business stuff with that I've been avoiding. And once you do one and you get that dopamine hit, it's like, man, I'm ready to call all of them, line them up, knock them down. All right, we got to take a break. We got Mike Watkins here in the studio, man. We're just kind of getting you guys kind of familiar with Mike, set the table if you didn't know him, which hopefully you now respect who he is and kind of the things he's been through. And we're going to use that to pivot into our next conversation about medical marijuana and the role he played in getting that here in Mississippi and helping the role he's playing to expand its reach here in Mississippi and kind of what he's got going on and all of that. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios of Mississippi on 103.9 FM WYAB. It is Friday. You know what that means. Let's talk about what's for lunch from all of our great Blue Plate lunch providers. Let's start with, and certainly not forget, our good friends down at the Manship, Stephen O'Neill. Speaking of great veterans here in Mississippi who have played such an important role in revitalizing the community. When other people shunned away, just like in military, Stephen ran straight to it and said, oh, people leaving Jackson? Let's build in Jackson. And he built the Manship. And, man, what a fabulous establishment it has been for the Jackson area, for Belhaven, for the Belhaven neighborhood, for Fondren and all of that. And like I said, probably one of, if not the best restaurant in the state, and absolutely, undoubtedly, undisputably, is that a word? Undisputably?
Undisputable.
Undisputably.
Yeah.
The best whiskey bar in the state of Mississippi. Voted number 67 or ranked number 67 out of the top 150 in the country. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, it may be the only one in the state of Mississippi that's on that list. So it's definitely the highest ranking either way. So there's some other great ones, but there's only one best.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is the Manship right there on North State Street across from Baptist Hospital, right there on the lower level of the parking garage. Swing by, check out their Blue Plate special of the day. Today, for only $15, get their fish tacos. I'm sure they are great. Also, the full menu is available. And don't forget at happy hour, their wood-fired pizzas, half price. And they have select high-end whiskey and bourbon shots for only $5. I mean, come on down, young son. Swing by, check them out today. That's the Manship. All right, Martin's downtown, Martin's Livingston. It ain't fried fish Friday, though that is on the menu. It's oh so good with that Cajun cream sauce on it. But it's fried chicken Friday at Martin's. Award-winning fried chicken, too, by the way. Swing by, check that out at both locations, Livingston out in Madison County, and, of course, downtown Jackson since 1953. Man, they got some great Cat Head Jam after parties going on there this weekend. Both nights. Check out their Facebook page, Martin's Downtown JXN, or their website, martinsdowntownjxn.com, and see which band is playing each night. It doesn't really matter which band's playing. Let's be honest. You're at Cathead Jam. You want to go party afterwards, keep the thing going, land at Martin's, one-stop shop. Great food, great fun, great drinks, great music, great people. How about McBee's out on the reservoir? Buzzing the res since 1982. Under new management and ownership, my buddy Michael Wimberly, who was on my show the other day, my Heavy Hitters Entrepreneur Show, telling you all about it. Michael and the team got fried catfish today, but they have other options available too if catfish isn't your thing. It's not my thing. That's the least Mississippi thing about me is I'm not a big fried fish fan. I will eat it, but I would probably take one of the other options, which are hamburger steak, fried or grilled chicken breast, country fried steak. You can't beat that. And, of course, the full menu is available. Try one of their great burgers. And last but not least, our great friends at all three locations of Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. Swing by, check out the fried catfish today. But, hey, again, if fried catfish is not your thing, the full menu is available. Try one of their award-winning burgers, their smoked hot wings. I like the Nashville hot myself. And the Blue Plate specials also include red beans and rice with sausage or hamburger steak with gravy and a side of your choice. Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, Brandon, downtown, Madison on Main Street, and Flowood at Dogwood right in front of Dick's Sporting Goods. Bunch of great food sponsors here on the show. We're proud to have them all. We'll tell you about El Patrillo Mexican Grill and Cantina before we get out of here. All right, man. Mike Watkins. Sorry for the extended ad read there, but that's our What's for Lunch special. We do it a couple times a week. Friday, beautiful weather out there today.
Great food.
So goodbye. Enjoy all of them. Mike, we got about 3 or 4 minutes for the next break. Got to make up this time somewhere, or these extended breaks somewhere. Anyhow, with that said, medical marijuana. You're a big, big proponent of it. You're a big reason that it's in Mississippi. All the work you did as a veteran, bringing awareness about the PTSD and the effects of it, and how medical marijuana could help assist that without having to get strung out on hundreds of pills a day.
Absolutely.
Tell people how many pills a day you were taking before you got legally on medical marijuana.
Depending on the doctor and the day, about between 400 and 800. And people are like, "Oh, that doesn't," how could that be?
A day?
Yeah, a day. Or no, a month. Sorry,
I'm sorry,
a month.
What were you taking a day?
I don't know, between like 15 and 30, depends. Because you got, I was on 4 Xanax bars a day at one point, and then, blood pressure meds and heart meds and, other, SSRIs and different things like that, and pain pills and, Motrin and, oxys and just all kinds of different stuff. And when you start to add the contraindications on that, with just like I said, blood pressure spiking and different issues and heart issues, and you got to worry about kidney issues, so you're drinking tons of water, making sure that doesn't have a problem, liver issues. You can deal with a lot of stuff when you're taking that many pharmaceuticals. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that it leads into, and it's I'm not saying pharmaceuticals can't help you. Obviously, penicillin, different pharmaceuticals we have, help save lives, but the frequency and amount that we take them is just insane.
Look, I go hard on SSRIs because
they don't even know how they work, man.
I've seen the damage they can do, and I do want to say this: I know there's people out there who SSRIs have saved their life. They were dealing with really, really bad depression and couldn't come out of it.
Absolutely.
And they were able to get on them, and it balanced them out, and it got them through a tough patch.
Absolutely.
And they were able to quit taking them, and or they have to take them because they just battle with intense depression. I get it, and when I go hard on this stuff, and I'm not talking about y'all.
No.
I'm talking about the people who don't need to be taking it. They're taking it because they had a bad day. They're strung out. Whatever, it's creating a bad situation out there. And I think there's still, even with all that said, there's so many people who could convert from the SSRI to the medical marijuana and be completely better off.
I'm off all my. They look at me like I'm crazy when I go to the VA. They're like, "Sir, you're not on any pills, any of this." I was like, "That's by design." I take a high dose edible concentrate level. Which actually we'll get into here after the break because it's pretty intricate. We've got a lot of really cool stuff going on with the medical program. We got this time next month you will be able to buy roughly you will be able to buy a tremendous amount more of edibles and concentrates. There was
a goof up on that initially, right? And they tried to use the same amount for a flower as for the edibles, as far as like the THC amount. And by the time I guess you watered it down to make it in an edible, the potency wasn't there like it was with a flower. If I kind of got the gist of it.
Well, they just weren't counting it the same ways, and then, there was 40% that was, or however much that was left over. People were getting gypped out of their units is the way they were looking at it. There were basically, when you go cash in a unit and go buy medical marijuana in Mississippi, you hand them, your money, so $100, and you get your change back from that. But then if you have a product that's 60% or 30% or 15% or whatever that is, the remaining, 85% or 40% or whatever, there is no change back from that. You as the state keep that whole unit. So people were incentivized to buy the highest end product they could to get the best bang for their buck for that unit because they were losing it. Well, now they're counting it just by the THC concentrate. So whatever the THC content of that product is, that's what you get counted against, and your unit is a 1 gram, which is 1,000 milligrams. So if you get a unit that's 60%, well, that's 600 milligrams. Well, you still got 400 milligrams, which is 40% left over to buy another unit. So now instead of the 24 units we had a month, you get roughly 40 to 42 units a month. That way, with edibles on the 100 milligram packs, now you can get up to 240 packs a month at 100 milligrams. So guys like me who take a high dose, I take roughly 1,000 milligrams a day with my head injury and my PTSD. It's super. I don't recommend anybody ever start anywhere near there. 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. That's what I recommend people start with. Because just like barbecue, low and slow, baby. You can't, you can't uneat an edible. Once it's in there, you kind of have to white knuckle hold on. And everybody's eating an edible has a "I ate too many edibles" story. So you want to make sure you're cautious with that.
Yeah, look, I've tried them before, and some good, some bad. My problem with the again, it's not my jam.
Yeah.
But I wish it was my jam at nighttime. Stop taking Ambien and convert over to that.
Yeah.
And now that they're strong, because I'll be honest, the edibles that were out there just weren't strong like the ones I had, and I have a really, really low tolerance for marijuana. And I just felt like I wasn't really getting the benefit of an edible. I was like, man, it's like it should not. I'm a one hitter quitter. I have a really low THC tolerance.
Even the
I
lower
didn't
end
feel like I was
stuff,
getting anything out of them.
even the lower testing stuff has so much benefits. We with Firecraft, we have our co-op that we have some of the best in the state. We have one of the Cannabis Cup winners from Mississippi, Sippy Cup.
Which I don't want to feel high.
They just
I don't like high feeling.
They have an 18 to 22% blueberry train magnet, a natural solution. Shout out to those guys. Again, they won a couple of awards with that. They're one of the best in the state. And again, that's an 18 to 22% when it first came out, but it smells like straight gasoline. I think it settled out around 25, 26%. But some of the tests are not that high. People think that, and again, the way the program was set up to incentivize the highest end of everything, people were missing out on some good medicine because we've been getting stoned in Mississippi for the past 60 years. We haven't been medicating until the past couple of years. So people are learning. Yeah. People are getting more acquainted with different products and things like that. So
hold that thought. Let's take a break. Come back. We're going to pick it up. Also, guys, if you're listening on the radio, I would never tell you not to listen on WYAB, but you got till 10 o'clock before Andrew Gasser gets started. You got Chris's music show. If the music show is not your jam, you want to continue hearing our conversation, Mike and I are going to continue it on the live stream during the 9 o'clock hour for 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. Would love to have you join us over there on our YouTube, Facebook, X, or Rumble by searching Save JXN. Don't go nowhere. We still got more time on the radio. I just wanted to drop that little nugget in your ear. I talked Michael into sticking around a little bit longer with me. We'll be right back. Breaking rules. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Real quick, guys, El Patrillo, Mexican Grill and Cantina. 2 locations to serve you. Flowwood, right there at Dogwood. And, of course, Crossgates, Brandon, right on Highway 80. We had some delivered from there last night, some fajitas. And I got the Berea tacos, however you say it. Man, 3 of us ate 2 meals, and we're all full. Swing by, see them today. You can get in and out at lunchtime with fajitas for $10 or less. Now, look, that don't include the tip. You got to tip. You non-tippers, I'm not talking to y'all. But everybody else, get over there, enjoy some great food, enjoy karaoke out on the patio, check their schedule for which night they do it. But good Southwest, Tex-Mex, Mexican food, you can't beat it. El Patrillo, locally owned, locally operated. And my favorite part about them is the bars are separate from the dining areas. So if you got family and you don't want to be around a bunch of people hooting and hollering, sit in the family area. You don't want to be around people's kids hooting and hollering and screaming and everything else, go sit in the bar area. That's where you'll find me, whether I'm drinking or not. I used to always sit in the smoking section, too, because I just don't want to be around people's kids. Mm-hmm. I just do not want to be around people's kids. They will ruin my experience, made me sit around a table full of other people's kids. So I always sit in the bar area. And that's supposed to be that's all I always sit around the smokers, even though I never smoked.
Right.
Whether I'm smoking or drinking or not, I just want to be where the kids aren't.
There you go.
And that's what I love about El Patrillo. If I don't want to sit around your kid, I ain't got to. And vice versa. If you don't want to sit around adults drinking and carrying on, you don't have to either with your kids. I can respect both sides. I've been on both sides. Though I never really took my kid out till she got over the hooting and hollering and screaming in public stuff. I really didn't, because I didn't want to be that guy that people were pointing at.
Yep.
Like, no, until you learn how to act, we ain't going out. I'm just burning a little time here. We got about 2 minutes for our last break, but we did terrible time management per usual on my end.
It's all good, brother.
Mike, so we were talking about the dosing on the gummies. That's going to go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the start date on that?
July 1st, so here in a few weeks. So all that's going to go up and be recalculated. I did want to go in before we got off the air and went on to the other segment. So we started a nonprofit. We've been working with a lot of patient advocacy groups and a few things like that. So we've got our first patient drives going on the coast next weekend down there in Ocean Springs. We're going to be subsidizing cards, so low cost cards, and then we got one going on the 21st in Greenville. The website is the DVAC Henderson Foundation.org. DVACHenderson.org.
Spell that.
DEVACHenderson Foundation.org.
So I get the Henderson. So the first part is DEVACK. DEVACK Henderson.org.
Yeah, absolutely.
So DVAC Henderson.
You got me spelling on a Friday, brother.
No, I was just making sure it wasn't like the letter D, VACK. So
No,
it's
DVAC.
DEVACK.
It's named after George DVAC and Becky Henderson. George DVAC I served with in Iraq. He passed away through cancer, died during COVID, and his daughter couldn't even give him a hug. You know, he literally was during all those protocols.
Well,
and,
I'm waiting to put the people who push that nonsense up against the wall in front of a firing squad. People who let these people die alone. And
that's a whole different hour-long podcast, brother.
Man, I tell you what, like, don't forget, people. Don't forget the medical professionals that made your sick family members or elderly family members die alone over the flu. Do not forget it.
Yeah, I got some heartbreaking photos, man. Here, I'll show you here in a second. But anyway, between that and then Miss Becky, she spoke up for medical patients. She was a quadriplegic, who was a medical cannabis advocate, trying to get people to be able to get home deliveries and just home health care and things like that, more access. So we're doing that. We're helping people get cards, paying for that. We're also helping people get medical equipment. That's another thing I want people to help out with. If you've got old, used, like new medical equipment, wheelchairs, beds, anything, canes, we're also going to be collecting all that so that we can turn around, refurbish those, and give those back out.
Real quick, where and when?
As far as the on the coast, the next weekend, which is the 12th, and the 12th, 14th, and then in Greenville on the 21st.
All right, we'll be right back with Mike Watkins. Don't forget, we're going to keep this going online at Save JXN, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. We will be coming back to radio for a minute, literally 1 minute, and then we'll also come back to you guys. I don't want to leave y'all hanging. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this and not sign off during the commercial breaks, but it's live radio, not so much live streaming, so the advertising does in fact pay the bills.
Yes, sir.
So that does take a priority. So look, we got Mike Watkins here. You've been watching, you've been listening. If you have any questions about the medical marijuana industry, drop them in the comments.
Absolutely. And
we will get those answered for you. Michael Edwards says, hope Texas legalizes weed for us vets.
Yes.
Here soon. They don't have medical marijuana in Texas?
No. They're working on psilocybin more than they are.
So what's that?
So medical, magic mushrooms, for lack of a better way. But they're distilling and isolating psilocybin and doing guided therapy sessions. We always heard dead brain cells growing up, but psilocybin and mushrooms have like what's called neurogenic properties. So you're actually relaying neural pathways and jump-starting parts of the brain that have been dead for years. Same thing with so you're doing that while you're simultaneously working through trauma through a clinical therapy session. Yeah. So it's really cool. They're videoing all of them. They're taking all the metric data and holding that for the studies, and it's been really cool, man. Denver. Hell, Mississippi is looking, since we're not on the radio, I can say hell. Mississippi is looking at doing an ibogaine study, I believe, which would be very beneficial. Or ayahuasca, I believe ibogaine, which is one that should be helping with trauma, addiction, like lots of gambling, substance, this, that, like all kinds of addictions. People take that, 48 hours later, they have no desire to do anything. Like complete resets. It's been pretty cool and pretty promising. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what else has been going on with you, man? So to tell people real quick, I mean, we're not just a random guy talking about medical marijuana. Tell people what your place is in the industry and what it is you do exactly.
So I kind of, what, Billy Bob Thornton and the Landman. I kind of do that for medical
facilitator.
Cannabis. Yeah, I'm a facilitator. So I work for Firecraft Cooperative. We've put together over a dozen brands where we sell medical cannabis to dispensaries. So we have over 130, 140 dispensaries that we sell to directly. Brands like Natural Solution, like I said, that just won Cannabis Cup for Mississippi. That's a Sippy Cup is what we call it. We have Delta Bud, which is a phenomenal up-and-comer. They've been doing really well, new grower over the last year. Wellcraft cultivation, a lot of micros. Grow Right, Jason Reiner, that's from around here. Mississippi Mom and Pops, places like that. Canacare, Magnolia Cannabis Company. So we package those together in a brokerage kind of scenario. Kind of like, I come from restaurants. I like making people fat and happy. Yeah, it's kind of my joke. But same thing with Cisco Foods. You got one rep, 1 point, one check to write, one catalog to deal with, but you've got 20 different options to choose from. So we try to streamline the process for everybody and then highlight the mom and pops who don't necessarily have the infrastructure or the time to get out there and beat the streets and do all the things that you need to do for a good, true marketing, sales, distribution, Kind of like Capital City Beverage, but for cannabis.
I like it. All right, we're coming back from radio here, or to radio in about 8 seconds. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to be coming right back to y'all as well. We are back live here for about a minute with Mike Watkins with chopping up about medical marijuana. We're going to keep this conversation going online at SaveJXN across Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. Hope y'all will join us there. If not, you can go back and listen to the podcast, or you can watch it, the replay, at the aforementioned live streaming platforms and social media. It'll all be there. Guys, don't forget to get out and support 042 Wine and Spirits this weekend. If you're out and about and you need some spirits of your own, wash your sorrows away. Have a good time, whatever it may be. God, I know that was inappropriate to say. Do not wash your sorrows away. See a professional for that. It is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Do not find yourself in the bottom of a bottle trying to do away with your sorrows. But if you want to have a good time, look for that perfect glass of wine to match with your dinner, or you're just like me, you want a shot of Fireball, some great bourbon, or whatever the case may be, stop by and see my good friends today at 042 Wine and Spirits, voted Rankin County's best liquor store 2 years in a row. They are locally owned. They are locally operated. They got a huge inventory. My favorite wine here lately has been the Kings of Prohibition, the Buzzing Seagull, Cabernet Sauvignon. I never get that word right. It's like asking for Worcestershire sauce. Everybody says it differently, or at least I do. Worcestershire. This has been the Clay Edwards Show. We're moving it to the internet. See everybody else Monday. All right, man, we're back here on the interwebs with Mike Watkins. Been chopping it up about the medical marijuana industry. We're going to hang out with you guys for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I got a bunch of stuff I need to do, but I just didn't feel like that was quite enough time to chop it up with my buddy. So tell people what you're in town for, man. I mean, you're always down at the Capitol hustling, and you're a bit of a lobbyist for the medical marijuana industry, sort of.
Yeah, I've had to wear a lot of hats,
very
man.
much so.
Swiss Army knife is, that other kind of moniker that a lot of us have taken on, because it's just, you compare it to like Deadwood and back in the day. You're going out west. You're chopping down trees to make roads, but you're using those trees to build the houses. Like we had to create a lot of things out of nothing here in Mississippi. A lot of infrastructure that wasn't set up, and a lot of people that didn't want us here to begin with. Majority did, but definitely a lot that didn't.
A lot of people in powerful positions didn't, because the conservative politicians here all run on "I love Jesus 17% more than my opponent." And in their mind, loving Jesus also means hating marijuana.
Well, I mean, look at, again, Natural Solution. Another shout out. All their jars have Genesis 1:29, and God gave us seed bearing fruit, and it is good. That's in the Bible. It's actually in there a couple other times. I think loosely alluded to, but it's absolutely there at that point. So again, I don't remember seeing pharmaceuticals in the Bible. Or in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So.
Mike, I know I've said this 100 times, but when I go to church, and I'm not rolling anybody under the bus, and what I'm about to say is not an insult, but I could easily sit down and look to the left of me and to the right of me and point out 5 to 6 people in each direction on the same row that smoked, that waked and baked before they came to church.
Yep.
Pre-medical marijuana.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In Mississippi, much less after medical marijuana in Mississippi. I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with partaking in the bud. I don't think there's anything wrong with partaking in alcohol and, frankly, any other substance, not meth and stuff like that. But if you need to get yourself in the right headspace, and you're doing it safe, and you're not driving, and it's only affecting you, then
that's the other thing.
You, man. If you want to sip on the mushrooms, do you.
It can't be the Wild West. You can't be intoxicated driving. I think with cannabis specifically, though, there is a huge tolerance factor. Okay,
don't come to church drunk, though. I recommend don't come to church drunk.
Oh, no. Or intoxicated.
Period, intoxicated. But I'm just saying, if you gotta hit, hit the one hitter. I'm taking me some kratom before I walk in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's legal. I don't think it says anything in the Bible about me going to hell because I take kratom.
No, I again. So the best way for me to describe with my head injury. You ever seen Men in Black? The first one, I think everybody's seen it. So when he comes down the elevator and he's showing him around the headquarters, and Will Smith touches the orb, and then it just goes all over and breaking everything. Well, that's my train of thought. I can't keep up with it. It's too fast. It bumps into stuff. It knocks stuff over and breaks stuff. So cannabis for me is that glove that Tommy Lee Jones